Nothing prepares you for the sound of your wife moaning another man's name in your house. I stand in my own hallway, phone trembling in my hand, recording the destruction of 9 years. The camera shakes as I focus on our bedroom door, cracked open just enough to frame their silhouettes against the lamplight. Erin's back arches. Jason's hands grip her waist. The wedding photo on the nightstand watches it all happen. 3 weeks ago, her texts turned cold. Clipped responses where paragraphs used to flow. Working late again became her evening anthem. The showers stretched longer. She'd emerge pink-cheeked, avoiding eye contact, claiming exhaustion when I reached for her. I should have known then. Instead, I bought her excuses, trusted her lies, made dinner reservations she'd cancel with 30 minutes notice, claiming client emergencies that couldn't wait. Jason's name peppered her conversations like salt in an open wound. Her mentor, she called him. The man helping her climb the corporate ladder. He's helping her climb something, all right. The dread had been building in my chest for weeks, a tumor of suspicion I couldn't cut out. Tonight I came home early from my business trip. Surprise, I'd thought. Maybe we could salvage what felt broken. I parked in the garage, used my key, heard the sounds before I saw anything. Soft gasps, the creak of our mattress, her voice calling his name like she used to call mine. My feet carry me closer. The floorboard outside our bedroom groans under my weight, but they don't hear. Too lost in each other to notice the husband recording their betrayal from 3 feet away. Jason's wedding ring catches the light as his fingers tangle in her hair. Married. Of course he's married. Erin knows his wife, has sat across from her at company dinners, smiled while shaking her hand. I should kick down the door, scream, throw punches, demand explanations that won't satisfy the hole they've carved in my chest. Instead, I wait. Document. Let the phone capture 30 seconds of evidence before I step into view. Having fun? They freeze. Jason scrambles backward, sheets tangling around his legs. Erin's eyes find mine, wide, horrified, searching for words that don't exist. David, don't. I slip the phone into my pocket. Get dressed, both of you. Then get out of my house. Jason fumbles for his clothes, face flushed red. Look, man, I can explain. The punch comes from somewhere deep, somewhere I didn't know existed. My fist connects with his jaw, sending him stumbling backward into the dresser. He hits hard, wedding photos crashing to the floor. Erin screams. Jason touches his split lip, staring at the blood on his fingers. You have 5 minutes, I say, my voice steady despite the earthquake in my chest. Then I call your wife. Then I call the police. Jason's eyes dart between me and the door. He grabs his shirt, his shoes, not bothering with his belt. Coward. Erin pulls the sheet around herself, tears streaming. David, please, let me explain. There's nothing to explain. I turn toward the door, then pause. Don't worry. This isn't over. Not even close. I drive until the adrenaline burns off, leaving behind something colder, harder. The man who walked into that house died in the hallway. What sits behind this steering wheel is something else entirely. 9 years. 9 years of shared dreams, whispered promises, building a life together. I think of our wedding day, how she cried during her vows, claiming she'd never felt love like this. How she insisted on writing them herself because Hallmark cards couldn't capture what we had. Lies. All of it. I park outside a 24-hour diner, the kind that serves coffee strong enough to wake the dead. The waitress looks like she's seen everything twice. She pours without asking, recognizing something in my face that needs caffeine more than conversation. My phone buzzes. Erin's name lights up the screen. I decline the call, then another, then a third. She switches to texts. David, please. We need to talk. It's not what you think. I love you. I've always loved you. Please come home. Each message is another nail in the coffin of whoever I used to be. That man would have believed her, would have crawled back, grateful for scraps of affection, would have asked what he did wrong, how he could fix this. But that man is dead. I pull out my laptop, connecting to the diner's Wi-Fi. First stop, our bank account. Joint checking, joint savings, the investment fund we'd been building for a house upgrade. I document every transaction from the last 6 months. Hotel charges I didn't make, restaurants where I wasn't present, lingerie purchases that never made it to our bedroom. Erin's iCloud syncs automatically to my iPad, a convenience she insisted on years ago for sharing photos. Now it's an archive of her betrayal. Screenshots of flirty messages with Jason dating back 4 months. Photos she sent him. Videos I can't bring myself to watch. The evidence tells a story I was too blind to read. Late nights that weren't about work. Business trips that coincided with Jason's travel schedule. The way she'd smile at her phone during dinner, claiming it was just her sister. My coffee grows cold as I compile the timeline. 4 months of lies. 4 months of coming home to kiss lips that had been on another man. 4 months of sleeping next to someone who'd already left our marriage. By dawn, I have enough documentation to bury them both. My lawyer's emergency line forwards to voicemail. I leave a message, keeping my voice level. Marcus, it's David. I need to see you today. Divorce proceedings. I have evidence. The phone rings within 20 minutes. Jesus, David. What happened? My wife happened. I close the laptop, signaling the waitress for another cup. How quickly can we move on this? Depends on what you've got. Video evidence, financial records, 4 months of documented adultery with her married boss. Marcus whistles low. That's comprehensive. You sure you want to go nuclear? Nuclear. The word sits heavy in my chest. Once upon a time, I'd have said no. Would have tried counseling, separation, anything to save what we'd built. But you can't save something that was already dead. Schedule it, I tell him. And Marcus? I want them to hurt. The man I used to be would have been horrified by those words. This new version of myself feels only cold satisfaction. Some betrayals don't deserve forgiveness. Some wounds are meant to scar. I finish my coffee and drive home to an empty house. Erin's car is gone. Good. I need space to think, to plan, to figure out what kind of man rises from the ashes of a burned marriage. The bedroom still smells like her perfume and his cologne. I strip the sheets, throw them in the garage. Bleach won't clean what happened here, but new linens might help me sleep without seeing their bodies tangled together. My phone buzzes again. This time it's not Erin. David, this is Jason. We need to talk. This doesn't have to get ugly. I stare at the message for a long moment, then delete it without responding. He's wrong. It's already ugly. The question now is how ugly I'm willing to make it. The answer surprises me with its clarity. As ugly as necessary. Jason Mayer isn't just a cheater. He's a predator wearing a company badge. Married 15 years, 2 kids, corner office with motivational posters about integrity and teamwork. The kind of man who volunteers for charity events while destroying families in his spare time. I spend 3 days learning everything about him. LinkedIn profile full of leadership awards. Company bio highlighting his mentorship program for rising female executives. The irony tastes like copper in my mouth. Erin isn't his first protege. Social media tells the story if you know how to read it. Photos from company retreats where his hand lingers too long on shoulders. Team dinners where he sits suspiciously close to different women over the years. Comments from former employees about his hands-on management style. The video needs editing. I blur Erin's face, not to protect her, but because this is about more than one affair. Her features obscured, she becomes every woman Jason's manipulated. The audio stays crystal clear, his voice, her moans, the unmistakable sounds of boss and subordinate crossing lines that should never be crossed. I compile supporting evidence, email timestamps showing late-night messages between them, expense reports for business trips that coincided with romantic getaways, credit card receipts for hotels that weren't on either of their approved travel itineraries. The anonymous email goes to 3 addresses: HR, the company's board liaison, and their legal department. The subject line reads, "Potential pattern of workplace harassment, urgent review required." My message is clinical, professional. To whom it may concern. Attached, you will find evidence of potentially illegal conduct by Jason Mayer, Regional Sales Director. The documentation suggests a pattern of inappropriate relationships with female subordinates under his direct supervision. This material was obtained legally and represents a clear violation of company policy regarding workplace harassment and abuse of power. I trust you will investigate this matter with the urgency it deserves. Please note, failure to address this situation appropriately may result in legal action and public disclosure of your company's inadequate response to documented misconduct. Concerned stakeholder. I send it at 6 a.m. on a Tuesday, knowing it will hit their inboxes before coffee, before excuses, before Jason can spin his way out of consequences. By Thursday, whispers float through their office building. A friend of a friend mentions Jason's sudden absence from meetings. Aaron texts me frantically. "Something's happening at work. Jason's not answering his phone. HR wants to see me tomorrow." "David, please. Did you do something?" I don't respond. Let her connect the dots. Let her understand what happens when you betray someone who actually pays attention. Friday afternoon, Jason Mayer submits his resignation effective immediately. His LinkedIn profile disappears by evening. The company issues a memo about strengthening their workplace conduct policies. Erin calls 17 times. I decline them all. She shows up at my apartment Saturday morning, dark circles under her eyes, looking smaller than I remember. "You destroyed him," she says through the door. "He lost everything." "Good," I reply without opening it. "He destroyed my marriage. Now we're even." "David, please, let me explain. It wasn't supposed to happen like this." "How was it supposed to happen, Aaron? With me never finding out? With you having your cake and eating it too?" Silence stretches between us, heavy with 4 months of lies. "I never meant to hurt you." "But you did. Repeatedly. For months." I lean against the door, feeling the weight of her presence on the other side. "And you would have kept doing it if I hadn't walked in." She's crying now. I can hear it in her breathing. Once, that sound would have broken me. Would have had me opening the door, taking her in my arms, promising we could fix this. That man is dead. He died watching his wife choose another man in their bed. "Go home, Aaron. My lawyers will be in touch." Her footsteps retreat down the hallway. I wait until I hear her car start before I pour myself a drink and toast the silence. Some people think revenge is about anger. They're wrong. The best revenge is calculated, cold, surgical in its precision. Jason thought he could take what was mine without consequences. He was wrong about that too. Money talks, but it also walks. 3 weeks of careful planning with Marcus ensures every legal move is airtight. Joint accounts require both signatures to close, but individual withdrawals under certain thresholds don't trigger automatic notifications. I've been paying our bills for years, managing our investments, handling the paperwork Erin found tedious. Her oversight becomes my advantage. I liquidate everything I legally can. The emergency fund we'd built for house repairs, my individual retirement account, stock options from my company. The money flows into an account she doesn't know exists, opened the day after I caught them. Marcus serves her divorce papers at work. Timing matters. I want her colleagues watching, want them to whisper about why Erin Hartwell is receiving legal documents during her performance review. The office gossip mill will do the rest. She calls immediately. "David, what the hell? You froze our accounts?" "I secured my assets," I correct. "There's a difference. I can't access anything. The credit cards aren't working." That's unfortunate. Her voice climbs higher. This is financial abuse. My lawyer says, your lawyer can request temporary support through the court. Good luck with that, considering the evidence I've provided. The evidence sits in a manila folder on Marcus's desk. Screenshots from her own iCloud backup showing 4 months of infidelity, hotel receipts, romantic messages, photos she sent Jason that would make her mother weep. Speaking of her mother, Linda Parsons raised Erin to be a good Christian woman, married her high school boyfriend, stayed faithful through 43 years of marriage, volunteers at the church nursery every Sunday. She believes marriage is sacred, divorce is failure, and adultery is the ultimate betrayal. I select the tamest screenshots. Nothing explicit, just enough to tell the story. Messages about meeting Jason at hotels, references to lying to me about work trips, her own words condemning her. The email to Linda is brief. Mrs. Parsons, I thought you should know why Erin and I are divorcing. I'm sorry you have to learn about your daughter this way. David, I send similar packages to her sisters, her book club, her church prayer group. Not out of cruelty, out of clarity. These people loved us as a couple, invited us to dinners, asked when we were having children. They deserve to know why that future died. Erin's social circle implodes within days. Her sister calls me, voice thick with disappointment. David, I'm so sorry. We had no idea. Her book club leader sends a card, praying for your healing during this difficult time. Even our mailman asks if everything's okay after seeing Erin loading boxes into her car. The isolation hits her harder than the financial squeeze. Erin was always social, needed approval like oxygen. Watching her support system crumble brings the first smile I've felt in weeks. She tries to reach out through mutual friends, but word spreads quickly in our circle. The evidence speaks for itself. Screenshots don't lie, bank records don't lie, video doesn't lie, only Erin lies. Her attempts at reconciliation grow desperate. She leaves flowers outside my apartment, sends handwritten letters claiming Jason manipulated her, that she was vulnerable after my promotion required more travel, that she never stopped loving me. Each excuse reveals more of her true character. Even caught red-handed, she's crafting narratives where she's the victim, where I somehow drove her to adultery by working too many hours, by not paying her enough attention, by failing to meet needs she never communicated. The final letter arrives on expensive stationery, probably purchased with the last of her available credit. David, I know you hate me. I understand why. But please remember that we were happy once. We were good together. Doesn't that count for something? Can't we try to save what we built? I'll do anything. Counseling, whatever you need. Jason doesn't matter. He never mattered. You're my husband. You're supposed to fight for us. Please don't throw away 9 years for one mistake. I read it twice, then feed it to the shredder. One mistake. 4 months of lies, deception, and betrayal reduced to one mistake. Even now she's minimizing, deflecting, making herself smaller to avoid the full weight of what she's done. But I see her clearly now. Maybe for the first time. Erin doesn't love me. She loves what I represent. Stability, security, the comfortable life we built together. She's mourning the loss of her safety net, not her husband. The woman who could cheat for 4 months isn't capable of the love she claims to feel. Love doesn't hide hotel receipts. Love doesn't lie about work trips. Love doesn't moan another man's name in your marriage bed. What she feels is panic, fear of consequences, regret at being caught. But not love. Never love. That realization cuts deeper than the betrayal itself, but it also brings clarity. I'm not losing someone who loved me. I'm escaping someone who never did. She shows up at my apartment 6 weeks after the papers were served. The building's buzzer crackles with her voice at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday, desperate and small. David, please, I just need 5 minutes. I could ignore her. Should ignore her. Marcus warned me against contact outside legal channels, but something in her tone, broken, hollow, makes me curious about what's left of the woman I married. I buzz her up. When the elevator opens, I barely recognize her. 20 pounds lighter, her face gaunt, wearing clothes that hang loose on her shrinking frame. The Erin I knew was meticulously put together, never left the house without makeup, spent an hour each morning perfecting her appearance. This woman looks like she's been surviving on coffee and desperation. "Thank you," she whispers, stepping into my apartment. She glances around, taking in the changes. New furniture, different art, no trace of our life together. It looks good, different, but good. I don't offer her coffee or a seat. This isn't a social visit. "What do you want, Erin?" I questioned. She wraps her arms around herself, suddenly fragile. "I wanted to see you, to explain." "There's nothing to explain," I replied. "Yes, there is." Her voice cracks. "You think you know what happened, but you don't understand. I understand perfectly." I keep my distance, staying near the door. "You chose to have an affair with your married boss for 4 months. You lied to me every day. You brought him into our bed. What else is there to understand?" Tears track down her cheeks. "It wasn't supposed to happen. Jason, he was so charming, so interested in my career. He made me feel important, valued." "And I didn't?" I asked. "Not the same way. You loved me, but he saw me, really saw me, my potential, my intelligence. He saw an opportunity, a married woman vulnerable to manipulation. You weren't special, Erin. You were convenient." She flinches like I've slapped her. "That's not true." "Isn't it? How many other protégés has he mentored over the years? How many other married women has he helped climb the corporate ladder?" The color drains from her face. She knows. Deep down, she's always known. "He lost everything because of you," she says quietly. "His job, his marriage, his wife took the kids." "Good. Actions have consequences. So do yours." Her voice hardens, showing a flash of the old Erin. "You destroyed 2 families, David, not just ours. His children will grow up in a broken home because of what you did. His children will grow up knowing their father is a predator. That's not my fault. It's his." She stares at me, searching for cracks in my resolve. Finding none, she tries a different approach. "Do you remember our 3rd anniversary? We drove to that little bed and breakfast in Vermont. You said you'd never been happier." "I remember," I replied. "You meant it. I could see it in your eyes. You loved me completely." She steps closer. "That man is still in there somewhere. The man who would forgive me, who would fight for us. That man died in our hallway 6 weeks ago." "David." "No." I move toward the door, hand on the knob. "That man loved someone who didn't exist. A fiction you created to keep him comfortable while you got what you wanted elsewhere." She's sobbing now, mascara streaming down her cheeks. "I loved you. I still love you. You love what I provided. Security, stability, someone to come home to when Jason wasn't available. But you never loved me, Erin. If you had, none of this would have happened. That's not fair." "Fair?" The word tastes bitter. "Was it fair when you chose him over me every day for 4 months? Was it fair when you lied about work trips so you could be with him? Was it fair when you brought him into our bed?" She has no answer for that. "I have one question," I continue, "and I want the truth for once. Did you ever love me? Really love me? Or was I just the safe choice while you waited for something better?" The silence stretches between us, heavy with the weight of 9 years. Her answer, when it comes, is barely a whisper. "I thought I did." There it is. The truth that cuts deeper than any betrayal. 9 years of marriage reduced to, "I thought I did." "Get out," I say quietly. "David, please. Get out of my apartment. Get out of my life. Don't contact me again." She reaches for the door handle, then turns back one last time. "What if I could prove it? What if I could show you that what we had was real? It wasn't real, Aaron. It was never real. You made sure of that. The door closes behind her with a soft click. I listen to her footsteps retreat down the hallway, then pour myself 3 fingers of bourbon and toast the silence. Some questions don't deserve answers. Some people don't deserve second chances, and some marriages deserve to die. 6 months later, the divorce is final. I sit in my new house, not the lake property I'd dreamed of sharing with Aaron, but a smaller place with clean lines and no memories. The papers arrived this morning via certified mail, official stamps marking the legal death of what I once thought was love. Aaron works at a call center now, customer service for an insurance company, fielding complaints from angry policyholders for $12 an hour. Her LinkedIn profile, when it existed, had showcased a rising marketing executive with ambitions and connections. That woman disappeared along with Jason Mayer. Jason himself has vanished from professional circles entirely. His wife took the kids to her mother's in Oregon, filing a restraining order that keeps him 500 miles from his former life. Last I heard, he was selling used cars in Nevada, trading on charm that's lost its shine. I've been promoted twice since the divorce. Turns out, removing the distraction of a failing marriage does wonders for professional focus. My new boss appreciates dedication that doesn't split between work and home damage control. The house feels different than anywhere I've lived before. Quiet, but not empty. Clean without being sterile. Mine in a way our shared spaces never were. Friends ask if I date. The question seems premature, like asking someone fresh from surgery if they're ready to run marathons. The wound has healed, but the scar tissue is still tender. Besides, I'm learning to enjoy my own company. 9 years of accommodating someone else's moods, schedules, and needs created habits I'm still unlearning. Simple pleasures become profound when you don't have to negotiate them. Coffee at sunrise, reading until midnight, deciding dinner based on what I want rather than what we agreed on. Aaron tried to contact me twice after the divorce finalized, both times through mutual friends, asking if I'd consider meeting for closure. I declined through the same intermediaries. Some chapters don't need epilogues. The last message came through my brother. She says she forgives you for what you did to Jason and wants you to know she's learned from her mistakes. I laughed, at the audacity. Even in defeat, she's rewriting history, casting herself as the gracious victim and me as the vindictive ex-husband who overreacted to her mistake. Let her have that narrative if it helps her sleep. The truth lives in court documents now, preserved in legal language that doesn't bend to convenient reinterpretation. Saturday mornings, I drive to the lake. Not to fish or swim, but to sit on the dock and watch the water move. Sometimes I think about the man I used to be, trusting, optimistic, willing to believe the best in people even when evidence suggested otherwise. I don't miss him exactly. But I understand why he existed. Love makes us vulnerable, and vulnerability makes us blind to what we don't want to see. The man I am now sees clearly, protects what matters, chooses carefully who deserves trust and who has to earn it. I'm not bitter. Bitterness implies ongoing anger, and anger requires caring. I've moved beyond both into something cleaner, indifference. Aaron is someone I used to know. Jason is a problem I solved. Their current struggles are consequences they earned through choices they made. My phone buzzes with another promotion offer, this one requiring relocation to Denver. Mountain views instead of lake access, but the same promise of new beginnings. I accept it immediately. Some people cry for closure. Others build it brick by brick, decision by decision, until the past becomes just another story about someone else's life. I built mine with silence, and silence, I've learned, is the most powerful response of all. And that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment below. Your support helps the algorithm push my content further. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me keep creating more stories for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. I thought I knew the sound of my own home until I heard it breaking. For 10 years, I built my life with Lila. 10 years of sacrifice, of 5 a.m. alarms and midnight closings at the restaurant. I started as a dishwasher, with calloused hands and a dream, climbing through every position until I finally owned the place. 60-hour work weeks weren't uncommon. They were my standard. All to create the life we shared, the comfortable home that waited for me at the end of each exhausting day. Lila never had to work. She stayed home, decorated our house, joined book clubs, took yoga classes. When friends asked what she did, she'd laugh and say, "I'm professionally adored," she would tell them with a smile, and I'd smile because it was true. I adored her. I built everything around her happiness. That Tuesday night, I was supposed to be meeting with a new supplier across town. The meeting ended early, a stroke of timing that would change everything. I remember pulling into our driveway and noticing the unfamiliar car parked there. Black sedan, tinted windows. Something in my stomach tightened. Our home sat quiet from the outside, but as soon as I opened the front door, I heard it. Laughter from upstairs. Not just Lila's laugh, which I knew as intimately as my own heartbeat, but a man's deeper chuckle beneath it. I stood in the entryway, my keys still in my hand, listening. The sounds from upstairs became unmistakable. Whispers, the creak of our bed, a gasp that twisted in my chest like a knife. I'd heard Lila make that sound countless times, but never for someone else. My feet carried me to the kitchen without conscious thought. I stood there, surrounded by the stainless steel appliances I'd bought her last Christmas, the marble countertops she'd insisted on when we renovated. Everything in this house came from my work, my sweat, and upstairs she was giving herself to someone else. The sounds grew louder, more urgent. Each one struck me like a physical blow. 10 years of trust collapsed in seconds. My vision narrowed, a strange buzzing filled my ears, and my breath came in shallow gasps. I leaned against the counter, trying to steady myself as my world imploded. That's when I saw it hanging there, catching the dim kitchen light. The cleaver. And suddenly, through my rage and heartbreak, a plan began to form. The cleaver felt heavy in my hand, the polished steel reflecting my distorted face. For a moment, blind rage urged me up those stairs, but then something else took over. The same calculating intelligence that had built my restaurant from nothing. This moment would define the rest of my life. What happened next would determine whether I lost everything or emerged with some measure of control. The businessman in me, the part that negotiated leases, managed inventory, and handled difficult suppliers, stepped forward. I set the cleaver on the counter and pulled out my phone. The voices upstairs continued, oblivious to my presence. Lila laughed again, that intimate laugh that used to be mine alone. I opened the recording app and pressed start, capturing the unmistakable sounds of their betrayal. But audio wouldn't be enough. I needed more. I needed to see their faces when they realized they'd been caught. I needed their complete confession, their humiliation captured permanently. Evidence that would give me absolute leverage. I thought about our life together, how I'd worked those endless shifts while she decorated our home and spent my money, how she'd greet me with kisses when I came home with bonuses or news of the restaurant's success. Was she thinking of him even then? Planning these meetings in our bed while I chopped vegetables and balanced books? The betrayal wasn't just emotional, it was theft. Theft of my trust, my time, my labor. Everything I'd built was at risk unless I controlled what happened next. Upstairs, a headboard knocked rhythmically against our bedroom wall. I fought the urge to vomit and focused instead on strategy. Divorce proceedings, asset protection, reputation destruction. My mind clicked through. The possibilities! I took the cleaver from the counter again, testing its weight. Not as a weapon of violence. That would only land me in jail, but as a prop in the theater of fear I was about to create. I needed them compliant, terrified, willing to do anything I demanded. Their fear would be my leverage. Their compliance would give me everything I needed. I rehearsed my approach, the sudden entrance, the raised cleaver, the phone positioned to record everything. I practiced my expression in the reflection of the microwave door, not wild with rage, but cold with controlled fury. This wasn't about emotional release. This was about surgical extraction of what I needed. Upstairs, I heard them shifting positions, murmuring to each other. I checked my phone's battery, 83%, more than enough. I slipped it into my breast pocket, camera lens peeking out, and started the video recording. I took several deep breaths, steadying my racing heart. The cleaver gleamed in the kitchen light as I gripped it firmly. This was my house, my life, my future at stake. I took one last deep breath, cleaver gleaming in my grip, phone recording in my pocket, and started toward the stairs. They were about to star in their own destruction. Kicked our bedroom door open with calculated force. The wood splintered around the lock, and the door crashed against the wall with a sound like a gunshot. Lila screamed, clutching sheets to her naked body. Her lover, Dave Matthews, a regular at the country club, froze mid-motion above her. His back to me. I recognized his salt and pepper hair instantly. He'd shaken my hand at community events, knowing all along he was sleeping with my wife. "Don't move," I commanded, my voice terrifyingly calm even to my own ears. I raised the cleaver deliberately, letting the overhead light catch its edge. Dave turned his head slowly, his face draining of color when he saw me. He scrambled backward, falling off the bed and scrabbling for his clothes on the floor. "Jacob, please," Lila begged, her voice high with terror. "This isn't—" "Shut up," I cut her off, my words like ice. "Don't speak unless I tell you to." Dave had managed to pull on his boxers, his hands shaking violently. "Listen, man, I can explain," he stammered. "This was a mistake. It just happened." I laughed, a sound entirely devoid of humor. "Just happened? In my bed? With my wife?" I stepped closer, cleaver raised. "How many times has it just happened, Dave?" "Please don't hurt me," he whimpered, backing against the wall. "I have kids. I'll give you money, anything." My phone captured everything from my pocket. His pathetic pleading, Lila's tear-streaked face, their naked vulnerability. This was my show now, my direction, my script. "Both of you, listen carefully," I said. "I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen." I pulled out my phone, showing them the active recording. "Everything, from the sounds you were making, downstairs to this moment right now, is being recorded. Your faces, your bodies, your begging." Lila started sobbing. Dave looked like he might vomit. "Here's what happens next," I continued, placing a notepad and pen on the bed. "You're both going to sign a confession. You'll admit to this affair, how long it's been going on, and how you've been lying to me. Lila, you'll specifically mention how you've never worked a day during our marriage while enjoying the benefits of my labor." "And if we don't?" Dave asked, a flicker of defiance crossing his face. I smiled coldly. "Then this video goes to everyone you know. Your wife, Amy. Your 3 children. Your partners at the law firm. Everyone." His defiance crumbled instantly. "I'll sign it," he said quickly. "Jacob, please," Lila tried again. "We can talk about this. I made a mistake. I love—" "Love?" I cut her off. "Don't insult me with that word." I turned to Dave. "Write it. All of it. How long, how often, where, every detail." With trembling hands, Dave wrote out a confession, occasionally looking up at the cleaver still gripped in my hand. When he finished, I read it carefully, then handed it to Lila. "Your turn," I told her. "Add anything he missed." She took the pen, tears falling onto the paper as she wrote. When she finished, I checked her additions. She'd been seeing him for 7 months. In our bed, in our car, planning their meetings around my work schedule. I felt sick, but kept my face impassive. "Sign it. Both of you," I ordered. They signed with shaking hands. I folded the paper and put it in my pocket with my phone. Then I turned to Dave. "Get dressed. You're leaving." He scrambled into his clothes, not meeting my eyes. "One more thing," I said, when he was dressed. "You promised me anything?" He nodded desperately. I put down the cleaver and delivered a single hard punch to his face. His nose cracked under my knuckles. As he doubled over, I drove my knee into his stomach. He collapsed to the floor, gasping. "That's merciful compared to what I could do," I said, hauling him to his feet by his collar. "Now get out of my house and pray we never meet again." I marched him downstairs and shoved him out the front door. His car peeled away from the curb, leaving black marks on the pavement. When I returned upstairs, Lila had pulled on a robe and was sitting on the edge of the bed, her makeup streaked down her face. "Jacob, I know I've hurt you," she began, her voice softening into the tone she used when she wanted something. "But we can work through this. For 10 years. You have 30 minutes to pack essentials," I interrupted. "Then you're leaving. If you're not gone by then, I'm calling the police." "This is my home too," she protested, a flash of entitlement breaking through her tears. "No, it's my home," I replied firmly. "Paid for with my money, from my business that I built while you did nothing but cheat." I gestured to the confession. "I have everything I need to ensure you get nothing in the divorce." "Where am I supposed to go?" she asked, her voice cracking. "That stopped being my problem the moment you invited another man into our bed," I answered coldly. I checked my watch. 28 minutes now. I stood in the doorway, watching as she moved around the room in a daze, pulling clothes from drawers and shoving them into a suitcase. When she finished, I followed her downstairs and watched as she loaded her car. "Jacob, please," she tried one last time, standing in the driveway. "Don't throw away 10 years. People make mistakes. We can get counseling." I said nothing, just stared until she got into her car. As her taillights disappeared into the night, I realized the show was just beginning. Now came the real work. At 6 a.m., I called Michael Brennan. As my restaurant's lawyer and a regular customer who enjoyed significant discounts, he owed me favors. I explained the situation, sent him the video and scanned confession, and asked him to meet me for breakfast. "This is about as clear-cut as it gets," Michael said 2 hours later, sliding the papers back across the table at the diner. We'd chosen a place across town, away from my restaurant and any potential gossip. "With this evidence, she'll get nothing. No alimony, no property division. We can file for an at-fault divorce immediately." I nodded, relief washing through me. "How quickly can we move?" "I'll file today," he replied. "We'll need to protect your assets immediately. Joint accounts, credit cards, anything she has access to. By noon, I'd changed the locks on the house, reset all passwords, and frozen our joint accounts after transferring the bulk of the money to my business account. I documented every piece of furniture, every appliance, every renovation that had been paid for with my restaurant earnings. My phone buzzed constantly with messages from Lila. "Jacob, please talk to me. I made a terrible mistake. I'm so sorry. Where am I supposed to go? I have no money. I love you. We can fix this." I ignored them all. The video was my insurance policy, not just for divorce court, but to ensure neither Lila nor Dave could retaliate with lies or attempts to salvage their reputations. But as evening fell, I found myself facing a moral dilemma. During our confrontation, I'd promised Dave that signing the confession would keep the video private, that his compliance would protect him from complete destruction. Had I meant it, or was it just another manipulation? I sat at my kitchen table, laptop open, researching Dave Matthews. LinkedIn showed he was a senior partner at a respected local law firm. Facebook revealed his picture-perfect family. Wife of 20 years, 3 teenage children, church membership, Little League coaching. His entire life was built on his reputation as a family man and community leader. I prepared 2 envelopes. In the first, I placed a USB drive containing the video and a copy of the confession, addressed to the managing partners at his law firm. In the second, the same contents addressed to his wife. For 3 days, these packages sat on my kitchen counter like loaded weapons while I wrestled with my conscience. My business reputation was built on being a man of my word. Suppliers trusted my handshakes. Employees knew my promises were gold. Even in the restaurant world's chaos, I maintained order through honesty and honor, but the betrayal had fundamentally changed me. The man who had built that reputation died the moment he heard another man's laughter in his bedroom. Dave had made his choice when he entered my home, my bed, my wife. He'd stolen my trust. Why should he keep his intact? I thought of him returning to his family after leaving my house, washing my wife's scent from his skin before kissing his children goodnight. I thought of him sitting across from clients, maintaining his professional facade while betraying the most basic codes of decency. On the 4th day, Lila's messages changed tone. My friend says I'm entitled to half of everything. The house is as much mine as yours. I'll fight for what I deserve. I made sacrifices too. You'll regret treating me this way. I know things about your business. I stared at the threats glowing on my phone screen. 10 years of supporting her, providing everything, and this was her response when faced with consequences. The decision about the packages suddenly became clear. I was still staring at those packages when I heard a key scraping in my front door, the lock. I'd changed 4 days ago. I moved to the front door and pulled it open before the locksmith could begin working. Lila stood on the porch, startled by my sudden appearance. The locksmith, a young man with a toolbox, looked uncomfortably. "Between us, your key doesn't work anymore," I said calmly, "because this isn't your home anymore." "I live here," Lila insisted, her voice rising. "You can't just lock me out of my own house." I turned to the locksmith. "Sir, I'm the legal owner of this property. My wife and I are in divorce proceedings. I'd advise you not to tamper with my locks unless you want to be involved in a legal situation." The man backed away. "I don't want any trouble," he said quickly. "You folks need to sort this out." He hurried back to his van. Lila's composed facade cracked as her escape route drove away. She looked thinner, with dark circles under her eyes. Her designer clothes had been replaced by jeans and a plain sweater. "Jacob, please," she said, her voice softening. "I've been staying on Meredith's couch. I have nowhere to go. My parents won't talk to me after what happened." "That sounds like the natural consequence of your actions," I replied. "It was a mistake," she insisted. "Meredith kept saying how you were always working, how I deserved attention, how all marriages go through phases. She introduced me to Dave at her party. It just happened." I almost laughed at the absurdity. "Nothing just happens for 7 months, Lila. That's called a choice. A series of choices, actually. Thousands of moments when you could have stopped but didn't." "I was lonely," she countered, tears welling in her eyes. "You were always at the restaurant. I made one terrible mistake." 7 months of mistakes, I corrected. "In our bed, in our home, while I worked to give you the life you enjoyed." Her strategy shifted, tears disappearing instantly. "Fine. My lawyer says I'm entitled to half of everything. The house, the restaurant." "Your lawyer is misinformed," I cut in. "Your signed confession detailing how you contributed nothing while living off my business earnings might interest them, as would the video evidence." Her face paled. "You wouldn't." "I wouldn't what?" I asked. "Use evidence of your betrayal? Why not? You betrayed me in every possible way." "Because you're better than that," she tried. "You're not cruel, Jacob." "I wasn't cruel," I agreed. "Until you taught me how." I stepped past her onto the porch, the 2 packages in my hand. Without breaking eye contact, I walked to the mailbox at the end of our driveway and dropped them in. The metal lid clanged shut with finality. "What did you just do?" Lila asked, fear creeping into her voice. One package contains the video and confession addressed to Dave's law partners, I explained, walking back toward her. The other is addressed to his wife. They'll arrive tomorrow. The color drained from her face. You promised him. I promised him nothing, I corrected. I extracted what I needed, just like you extracted what you needed from me for 10 years. You've destroyed his life, she whispered. No, Lila, I replied firmly. You destroyed his life. You destroyed our marriage. You both made your choices. Now you get to live with the consequences. What about me? She asked, her voice small. The divorce papers have been filed, I answered. Your confession ensures it will be swift and entirely in my favor. You'll leave with exactly what you brought to our marriage. Nothing. She stood there, speechless, as the full weight of her situation crashed down on her. No home, no money, no lover, no reputation. Goodbye, Lila, I said, stepping back into my house, my sanctuary. I closed the door and heard her collapse into sobs on the porch. I waited by the window until she finally pulled herself together and walked away down the street, shoulders hunched in defeat. In the kitchen, the cleaver hung in its designated place on the magnetic strip. I ran my finger along its edge, feeling its potential, but knowing it had already served its purpose perfectly. Not as a weapon of violence, but as a catalyst for justice. I'd learned that calculated fear accomplishes more than blind rage, and the deepest cuts come from precision, not emotional outbursts. In the end, I hadn't needed to swing the blade to cut away what was poisoning my life. 6 months later, I stand in my kitchen preparing dinner for myself. The house feels different now, cleaner somehow, as if Lila's betrayal had been a toxin gradually seeping into the walls that has finally been flushed away. The divorce was finalized in record time. My lawyer called it the cleanest case he'd ever handled. My savings remain untouched, the house is solely in my name, and the restaurant continues to thrive. I've even opened a second location across town. I occasionally see Lila working at the discount store near the highway. I heard through mutual friends that she tried applying for better jobs, but in our small community, word travels fast. The whispers follow her everywhere. No one will hire the woman who betrayed her hard-working husband while living off his labor. Dave. Matthews disappeared entirely. His law firm asked for his resignation the day after my package arrived. His wife filed for divorce immediately. I heard he moved to Arizona, starting over with nothing but the clothes he packed in his car. Lila still sends messages sometimes. Apologies. Claims that she's changed. Requests to talk, to explain, to make amends. I never respond. The silence, I've discovered, cuts far deeper than any words ever could. My peace isn't about forgiveness. It's about the complete absence of chaos in my ordered life. The restaurant continues to be my focus, my passion, my achievement. I've started dating occasionally, but I'm in no rush. I've learned to value my solitude, to appreciate the quiet of a home that contains no secrets, no betrayals. The cleaver still hangs in my kitchen, polished and sharp. I use it daily, preparing ingredients. It reminds me that sometimes the most effective weapon is the one you never actually have to use. True justice, I've learned, isn't about forgiveness or second chances. It's about ensuring the guilty face the complete and permanent consequences of their choices. Some people deserve mercy. Others deserve exactly what they earn. And that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment below. Your support helps the algorithm push my content further. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me keep creating more stories for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.